environment more acceptable to adult learners?
I think our environment has changed because the students actually has changed for us. We attract more traditional freshmen. We attract more transfer students that are traditional age. What we have continued to do, again, is to keep the tuition at a reasonable price. We cannot, we will continue to just do our give the opportunity to the students that are there and are coming to us, but there is not accelerated programs. We no longer have the College of Public and Community program that dealt with a lot of adults coming in. That may eventually come back in the future.
Was that through budget cuts?
That was a decision that was made on the campus with the college. So those are some of the things that we certainly have lost where, provided the adults that. We have a continuing education office. We're looking to see if there's ways that we can offer degrees through our continuing education office. We have the UMass Online, as an option where all of the universities of Massachusetts participate. So there's ways that we're trying, but as Joe has already said, it really is individual colleges and what they can do and how creative they can become in order to deal with this issue. Because
Bill?
more and more adults need degrees.
Bill or John, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that I have in the audience, I have one of my former students when I used to teach at Harvard Extension, which is a huge operation, which has undergraduate degrees and master's degrees, and I also taught at the Boston College Extension School all those many years ago, and so there are really some great opportunities. I'll just give you one other example, which is very exceptional. We admitted a guy about 25 years ago whose son had gone to Harvard. He was 62 or 3 years old at that point. We admitted him. He didn't have an undergraduate degree. He then took a gap year. I guess he wasn't mature enough. And
you wanted to travel?
He retired and was terrific. So, but that is where a lot of the action is, no question, going forward. And we really need to do more as a country to help out.
And the same at Boston College. I mean, we're known primarily as a traditional undergraduate institution. Most of our students are between the ages of 18 to 22, but we've got a College of Advancing Studies where Bill was a faculty member, and indeed, there are a whole host of people there. There are students who are, who might not have had great high school careers, who are looking to begin their college careers on a little bit of a slower level to really get the ground underneath them. But there are also some adult learners and some great opportunities to either pursue a degree or enhance your skills through our College of Advancing Studies at Boston College.
Excellent. We have another question right in the back here. Yes.
Good morning. My name is Erin Cox-Weinberg. I'm the Chief Program Officer at Access. We're a nonprofit that provides free financial aid advising for high school students in Boston and Springfield. And a lot of the work that we do is help students make affordable choices for higher education. And we will often help students piece together aid packages based off of their freshman year award letter. And then tuition fees change, life situations change, and hopes are dashed. And that aid package that works for the first year is just not sustainable for the length of the degree, whether it's 2 years, 4 years, or beyond. And so I'm wondering, kind of a two-part question, what are you doing on your campuses in terms of support services and information, as well as what can we do as a college access and success field to help students and families both predict and plan for what will likely be increasing costs over the course of the degree?
Thank you.
Just quickly,
yes.
I'm actually going to be attending the Access dinner, I think, on May 5th, is it? But it's a great program and also provides not just counseling, but it also provides financial aid, additional help. We're very fortunate. We have about a 97 or 98% graduation rate. One of the major changes at Harvard in recent years is a doubling of the advising corps, for example. I won't go through the whole routine, but there's really a lot, I think, that every college, I think, has stepped up in major ways in trying to ensure that students from the bottom quarter and bottom half of the American income distribution not only get to college, but actually get through. And that's the real key. Bill Bowen and his colleagues just put out a fabulous book called Crossing the Finish Line. and it's mostly focused on public institutions. But the bottom line, and it isn't enough just to get the student out the high school door into the college. The real issue is whether the student ultimately finishes. So there's a lot of concern out there.
I think you put your finger on an extremely important question on the front end. You know, as the student is admitted to colleges and universities and is looking at financial aid packages, one of the critical questions that you've got to ask is, at a need-based institution such as Boston College, presuming financial circumstances of the family stay reasonably the same, is this a commitment of 4 years by the institution, or is this a one-year reward and then it could be taken away? I mean, there are certainly a lot of sad stories out there of institutions that are thinking, I think, very narrow-mindedly about attracting a student and then cutting back on the financial aid as they go. So looking at what I would call a renewable financial aid award, presuming that either a family's financial circumstances stay the same, or if it's a merit award, making sure that it's a merit award that is going to stay the same, or maybe even go up over 4 years to compensate for increased tuition.
Leanna?
Just really providing parents with a lot more and students with a lot more information is going to be extremely important. Certainly Access has hit on it, and they have done a great job with providing information at the high schools and being at some of the high schools themselves and representing financial aid. The more education we do for the parents, the better. We have tried to increase services through our student support services, career services, as well as academic advising, and we're really looking to try to educate them more about the packages that they're getting. Financial aid will run workshops. They will be the college Goals Sundays, and our financial aid director is out there trying to provide as much information as possible. But students really have to make sure that they're applying on time. They have to make sure that they consistently do that. Missing deadline means missed opportunities. So really understanding the needs, what the deadlines are for the institutions that you're going to, and really making sure that you're staying on top of that so that your packages can be good and that you're bringing new information to the campus. A lot of times families have changed, but maybe institutions have not heard about it. So doing as much as we can to educate them through the process, through the admissions process, but also through the process once they're on the college campuses themselves.
Joe?
I'd say 3 elements, 2 of which have already been mentioned. One is the aid package that you receive in the first year. You need to make sure that you have a commitment, all things being equal, that the institution is going to stick with that through 4 years. The second one, as Bill mentioned, I think, is highly effective academic advising, a degree plan that's available so you can finish on time. The greatest cost, it's going beyond 4 years. And then finally, I think institutions such as Leslie, as we look at the price sensitivity of college for the American family right now, is controlling cost so that those rates do not go up 2 or 3 times what the CPI is every year. Because if that continues to happen, even if you sustain the package, the gap gets larger and larger. And I'm convinced that we've seen a sea change in the last 18 months, at least in the sector that Leslie's in, where we cannot have high annual tuition increases when we see what's happening with family income.
Yes, sir.
Anthony, and through you to our guest from Access, high school is too late. If you accept everybody's advice here about getting in the game early to educate, inform, and save, middle school, ages 13, 14, and 15 are the new battleground. That's where the action is. If you wait till they're 17 and a half, you've waited too long on the career thing, you've waited too long on the institutional choice and program thing, and you've waited too long on the financing. So my advice for Access, and I know they know this, is just like critical math and science begins formative development at 13, 14, 15, so does financing higher education.
I wanted to ask you, do the early birds get the bulk of the scholarships? How do the institutions time this? I mean, do you time it so that the early birds get
You mean early
the bulk?
accept? Yeah, for the
early applicants,
Yeah,
yes.
early acceptance is different, maybe. Bill would.
We don't have early admission. We have just one admission point, and the timing doesn't matter.
We do have early action, so we've got a group of students accepted already. They were accepted in December. We'll have another wave of acceptances going out in March, but timing of acceptance does not affect financial aid eligibility. As long as the student and the family have completed the financial aid forms by the February 1 deadline, they'll be considered for financial aid. And again, we're fortunate enough to be in a position where we're going to be need blind. We're going to meet the full demonstrated need, even if that means exceeding what our budget is in a given year.
I see. Liliana?
And we're looking at March 1 with regards to our financial aid deadline and making sure that families apply by that time, which is getting a little later. We do start giving out scholarships at the beginning of January for the students who are accepted for the fall semester. So if you have strong students, we would recommend that you apply early. We don't have an early action or an early decision program, but we are making decisions and notifying students of their decisions on a rolling basis. So it is important that you do apply, look at the institutions, look at our websites, make sure you have those deadlines in place. And when you are organizing this process for your son or daughter, think about that. Try to hit the earliest deadline and try to get the applications in by that deadline, because you don't know what you're going to be missing if you don't hit those dates.
Joe?
We have early action, but the levels of both need-based and merit-based aid remain available in the same amounts subsequently as well.
Do we have a question back here? Yes, we have one right in the corner. We have two. Yes.
I have a daughter that's a senior. We've done all the applications. We're in the FAFSA, the CSS, all done. We're in that waiting period for notification. What is the process when we get back the answers with the financial aid package to let you know whether there's different circumstances? What's the time frame? And how would you like to be notified? Thank you.
Good question. Thanks.
You can call the financial aid office and usually schedule an appointment to come in and see one of the counselors or speak with that particular counselor at that institution. That's one of the recommendations I would make.
We will run in April 3 weekend programs for admitted students, and the financial aid office is open all day long for walk-in appointments. But I would say if you receive the package and immediately have questions or concerns, on the award letter will be a contact person as well as the number to call. Begin that way, and if you're going to be able to be on campus in April, perhaps come in and do a sit-down meeting with that individual. And providing you enroll at a place like Boston College, you know, that's going to be your person through 4 years, establishing that relationship so that they know you very well, they know the family very well. That's really critical, and I think is the secret toward making sure that things don't change on the financial front during those 4 years.
Yeah, and I have a very similar answer, and just simply our financial aid people in the month of April, we notify students of their admission on April 1. And our financial aid people are there 8 to 8 on the phones. They're Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturdays. We have a visiting weekend for admitted students. You can talk on the phone, you can send materials, you can come in to see people. I will say that perhaps the most important person in my life when I was at Harvard was my financial aid counselor, because we had a number of issues to deal with, and I had 3 brothers, and one at Stonehill, one at Boston College, and one at Yale, and they had similar terrific relationships with their financial aid officers. You know, I think we all work really hard to get financial aid officers who are great counselors and who are great people, as well as those who can, you know, crunch a number. So I think you'll find them very user-friendly. If there are unusual circumstances or something has changed, and we just spent a whole chunk of money at mid-year, by the way, with changes for our current families. You know, as John said, you know, we've all seen our financial aid budgets increase dramatically over the past few years because of the economy. So, you know, I think we're going to work hard to the extent that it is humanly possible to make your son and daughter or daughter comfortable.
If you look under your plate, you'll see a neatly folded pop quiz that we're going to